Hello, this is Mark here at Gary's Guitars in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and this is part 2 of my harmony video. The sun is behind me, and it's giving all these harmonies a heavenly glow, which gives you an idea what they sound like. I think harmony guitars sound great. If you haven't seen part 1, it's an overview. Watch that one first. Here comes part 2. We're going to talk about the bracing on the guitar. So famously, these guitars are ladder braced, meaning the bracing is a series of parallel braces on the inside of the guitar, like the rungs on a ladder. Ladder bracing is the traditional way. Classical guitars to this day are still ladder braced, but Christopher Martin, who famously was not allowed to join the Luthier Society, the Luthiers Guild. Initially, he was forced to join a cabinet makers guild because they thought his guitars were so crazy. Because he had some really interesting designs. So let's go back to the early 20th century. There was a lot of effort made in making guitars louder. And what Martin really got good on was he reinvented the bracing on the inside of the guitar. And what we call today X bracing, which 90-something% of guitars, especially steel string guitars, you'll find, use that kind of bracing. And it's basically an X based on the, an X that over the bridge area that meets, in front of the bridge, but so you have an X that meets here ish, and a lot of braces that are all kind of engineered in different spots at angles rather than parallel like on the ladder brace. What did that do? That strengthened the top of the guitar to present, because steel string guitars put more pressure. Enabled the steel string guitar to be louder, and it gave it a little bit of an expanded dynamic range. It was a great idea, and hats off to Christopher Martin the First, who came up with that idea, because it revolutionized the dreadnought, especially his model is called the dreadnought guitar. Changed the steel string guitar world forever, and the world forever. However, harmony guitars are famously ladder braced. Why is this? Well, I don't know. The rumors are that Harmony, wanted to save money on materials, or that it was easier to do, and a lot of that is true. But also, I think the jury wasn't, when Harmony started making guitars in the 30s. The jury wasn't completely back yet, saying that all steel string guitars must be X braced. And there are other bracing formats that have come along since. The Macaferri guitars were made to be exceptionally loud, and they had a brace on the outside. The actual bridge was a brace, not the Martin design. And Harmony had their own thing. They decided they were going to ladder brace their guitars, or they decided not to change to an X bracing. So this leads to a few problems. It leads to, so what's problematic is, you'll see, and I talk about this in other videos as well, 200 plus pounds of pressure on this guitar. It's like you standing on the top of the guitar, a regular sized human, not me for sure, but just standing on the guitar all the time, when you're playing it, when you're not playing it. It's a lot of pressure. What they would do, what happens is the guitars would get top distortion. The bridge would want to rotate forward, the neck would want to cave into the guitar, and this is true on a lot of guitars, but especially the Harmonies, because they didn't have the extra bracing that the Martins would have, and they didn't have they weren't over braced. They didn't have the bracing in this area where the hole is. Putting a hole in a guitar is a terrible idea. And everyone knows it, but it's just tradition. And sometimes you'll see people put a hole here, or they put a hole here, or whatever. Or the archtop guitars have F holes. I guess I didn't mention that when Gibson invented the archtop guitar. Essentially, like, hey, let's make a giant mandolin to try to make the guitar louder. When I was talking about Martin making their louder, bigger dreadnought guitar, Gibson was going down their own way. But the X brace became the way to do it, not the way Harmony did it. So what does this cause? This causes a lot of Harmonies to collapse in this area. And it also causes a lot of neck dive, the neck diving into the body, going backwards. And so just about every harmony of this era, this 50s to 60s era that you find, will need a neck reset. Even if the neck joint is good, like this one has a great neck joint, it may have been reset at some time, but it doesn't have a really great neck angle because the neck managed to go this way. And so, and then over time you'll see, and this is unfortunate, in harmonies, they would lower the bridge, they would shave this down, they'd do this and that, lower the saddle, and do everything they could to keep them going. Because these were, once again, these were just working class people's guitars. They weren't considered treasures at the time. And then Harmony later went to using some plywood stuff, which was even more problematic. But a lot of these harmonies here, all that you see are solid wood guitars. And it's the same great wood that they were making Gibsons out of. But, so, what else about ladder bracing is important? Tonally it's different. It doesn't sound quite like a Martin. It sounds like a Harmony. A powerful mid-range. A little more powerful of a mid-range than the Martin style. And that's exacerbated by a lack of low end. The Dreadnought. So this guitar shape, you would kind of look at it and say it's a jumbo. It's a unique harmony shape. It's like a jumbo. So you have this wide waist, and the bouts are less pronounced. Usually a jumbo has the Gibson style jumbo has two very pronounced bouts. This, the Harmony Sovereign, has this different body shape than a Martin or whatever. It doesn't have the boom. Well, this one, it sounds great. It has a little boom because this one's been modified, and we'll talk about that later too. So, like I said, a lot of these harmonies need fixing. And they'll need a neck reset. They'll need a bridge reset. The bridges kind of commonly... so this, you'll see, isn't a pin bridge. It's a through the bridge. That puts additional pull on that, causing that top collapse. Let's see this sweet little guy. This one is a mahogany 1203. Sweet sounding guitar. Not loud, not a Cannon. The Sovereign can be a Cannon. They even wail on those, and that they, especially with some rebracing. And we'll talk about I guess we're talking about bracing. We should talk about rebracing. But this is a guitar that needed a neck reset and a bridge reset. The bridges would come up because of that. And also has some top distortion still built into it. This one, you'll notice this on some. You see that there's no logo on it. Like I said in the other video, Harmony made guitars for Silvertone, and Silvertone was not considered a prestige brand until much later. And so some people would remove the logo if it was a Silvertone logo, or some of these guitars may have not had a logo, or Harmony itself wasn't a prestige brand. So someone had rattle can blacked this over, and I was like, well, I got to do a better paint job on that. So I sanded it down, and then I looked at it and said, wow, that's kind of beautiful. It reminds me of a calico cat. So I'm going to keep it and call it the Calico. I had a 3-color cat myself for many, many years. Alright, but let's talk about rebracing. So in the other video I mentioned my guitar maker friend Chris Pern and what he told me and what he did for my Harmony. So I got a Harmony, I got it cheap. He knew he wanted to get it going for me because he was my friend. He knew I didn't have a lot of money. So he refretted the first few frets because it had the cowboy, what they call the cowboy fret wear, which is someone played rhythm guitar on it all day and just worn out the first 3 frets. He didn't do a neck reset because I couldn't afford one, and the neck was okay. Someone that either had done one or it could use a little more neck set. He filled in, he did the left-hand conversion for me. He filled the slot, which actually used to go end to end, and he cut a new slot and made it intonate a little better. Some of these guitars, on some of these guitars, the bridge was glued on in slightly the wrong place. They were, like I said, they were making a lot of guitars, and they weren't as concerned about the intonation as we are today. So you got that, and then he put some sister braces in, and this is the one. He put braces here at a slight angle to shore up this hole and to help You notice harmonies have a smaller sound hole, and some of that was trying to give a little more structure to this area so it wouldn't collapse. They kind of knew they had a problem. So sister bracing can be used, and then rebracing. And I have an example of a rebraced harmony right here. The other thing is this one has a bridge doctor. That was something that Chris used quite a bit, and I later put the bridge doctor in this. The bridge doctor is a cantilevering thingamabob that goes inside the guitar. That's why there's this dot here. That it anchors the back of the bridge and puts it juxtaposed to the end, the block on the end of the guitar, and kind of makes it want to bend back to kind of counteract the rotation that the bridge wants to do. Here's the rebraced harmony. As long as we're talking about bracing, this company, they call themselves Moonlight Luthiers. It's a cabinet maker who fixes harmonies in the dark or at night when he's not in the shop that he works in. And what he does is, this guitar was in seriously sorry shape. It needed thousands of dollars. It needed a neck reset. It needed a bridge reset. It needed the bracing, and the top was screwed up. So he actually did, for at the time, which was I think $550. I think now it's $600. He will completely rebuild your harmony guitar. So it's called Moonlight Luthiers. Look him up online. Now here's the thing. He's a very opinionated fellow, and he will only do his own style of work on the guitar. He wants to do complete rebrace, neck reset, refret, new everything, and he basically wants to be done completely right. So but he charges so little money for what he did. Like I said, he ended up rebinding. So to rebrace it, take the back off, rebrace, back on, rebound the back, rebound the fingerboard, refretted, neck reset, bridge, new bridge. Not just a bridge reset, new bridge, and then of course bridge plate because it didn't have one because it had the string through the bridge before, bone nut and saddle, and he charges, like I said, $600 to do that. It is it's an enormous amount of work, but because he just does the harmony guitars, he does them in batches. He's done them so much, he just does them all. So he did this guitar for me, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So this is a good example of the harmony concert size, folk size guitar. Definitely a lot. This one's been rebraced. A rebraced guitar needs some time to reactivate, to kind of re-age. So, but flattened out the top, solved all those problems, and something I'm glad I have one of them. I don't know if I do it to all my harmonies because some of them don't need it, but also the ladder bracing on the 12 string is important to the sound. When you change the sound when you change the bracing pattern. But since this one was in such sorry shape, there was no value to it, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to check out what the guy does, and it sounds really nice. It has a voice, and it has a voice that's developing. This also had its logo removed and just a sticker style, a decal that says Harmony was put on, but that's not the original logo. This could have been branded Sovereign as well. They branded some all solid wood guitars, even in the folk size body, as Sovereigns. Whew, I'm losing my breath. I'm talking so much, but love these Harmony guitars, so I want to talk about all that stuff and more. So this is part 2 about Harmony. Maybe I'll make a part 3 or talk about the 12 string some more. So that's all for now. Gary's Guitars, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Check us out: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Gary's Guitars USA on Instagram. And thanks for watching. And if you have any question about Harmony guitars, you can leave a message, leave a comment, and we can talk about harmonies. And like I said, I'm going to probably make a couple more little Harmony videos. I'll show you some of my arch stops too. So thanks for watching.